Hey guys, welcome to today's video, which is everything we did during our time in Lisbon, Portugal. If you saw the previous video of what we did during our time in Porto, you know that we ended up taking a 3-hour train from Porto to Lisbon. We booked business class, which had plenty of space for our big suitcases towards the entrance of the car and overhead space for our carry-ons. The only disadvantages were that the Wi-Fi signal was incredibly weak, we couldn't find any plugs to charge, and by the time we made it to the store behind us to get snacks and drinks, they were closed. By the time we dropped off our bags at the Airbnb, it was 10 p.m. and we were starving, so we walked to a restaurant nearby called Buga Ramen, the Rossio one, which is by the Rossio Square. I was obsessed with the decor. The food was delicious. I got the chicken curry with rice, and we also got some bao buns as appetizers, and the service was amazing. Next day we were genuinely exhausted, so we ended up sleeping in and got brunch at another spot nearby called Frutaria, and it was so good. I got a dirty chai that tasted and smelled like Christmas, and I also got truffled scrambled eggs with Portuguese cheese, hummus, artisanal toast, and a garden salad. The service once again was amazing. At brunch we were looking at things to do and found that near the Rossio Square right by us there would be a walking tour starting in 10 minutes that took you to Rossio, Chiado, and Alfama. So we booked it on Get Your Guide, not sponsored, for $26 each, and we made our way there. I think this was a great way to start our time in Lisbon as an introduction to it and things to do. We learned a lot, and the tour guide Jose was knowledgeable and funny, so I definitely recommend checking it out. We first walked around Rossio and stopped by the Rossio railway station where we learned about King Sebastian, which is that little guy right there, who became king at a very young age and disappeared and never came back to Portugal after starting a crusade to Morocco, which is why apparently many Portuguese believe that he would eventually come back one foggy morning to save Portugal, and some joke about things saying, "Don't worry, King Sebastian will fix it." This is Santa Maria Mayor in the historic center of Lisbon. We made our way down to the Chiado district found in Santa Maria Mayor and stopped at the square with the Museum of the Guarda Nacional Republicana and learned about the Carnation Revolution, also known as the 25th of April, as they were celebrating 50 years since the military coup in Portugal by officers that overthrew the authoritarian regime, which resulted in a transition to democracy. A fun fact that's not very fun, the prime minister during the authoritarian regime was Antonio de Oliveira Salazar, who inspired the name of the Harry Potter character Salazar Slytherin. So the more you know. And next door is the Carmo Archaeological Museum inside a ruined Gothic church that was destroyed by an earthquake in 1755 and a subsequent fire. After walking a bit further in Santa Maria Mayor, we made it to the Santa Justa lift that apparently offers a great view of the city. While it was temporarily closed, there's still a lot to see near it as there are interesting art pieces such as Sofia, that purple statue of a young girl by the artist Super Linux that just appeared one day, and also an art piece featuring pelicans made by Artur Bordalo, famous for using street garbage to create animal sculptures to warn people about pollution and overconsumption. And while I didn't record it, nearby you'll find the world's oldest operating library called Livraria Bertrand, founded in 1732, where you can go buy a book and ask them to stamp certifying that you bought it at the oldest operating bookshop in the world, which is a great souvenir if you ask me. Afterwards, we stopped by for a quick bathroom and Pastel de Nata break at Casa Brasileira, where I learned that I prefer my Pastel de Natas with cinnamon on top. And we then walked up so many steps and hills to what we later realized was right next to our Airbnb. Apparently, this lift right here can get you to the Castelo de São Jorge that we saw previously at a distance, though you do have to take 2 different ones apparently, but we just popped over to look at the view. Further down, we saw beautiful houses and buildings with the iconic Portuguese and Spanish tiles like these. On our way to the Alfama district, we passed the Igreja de Santiago, considered the official starting point for pilgrims beginning the Camino Portugués, a major pilgrimage route leading to the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela in Spain. Nearby, we had another snack break with a pastel de bacalao, which was delicious, and wine. And after more steps, we made it to Alfama, one of the oldest neighborhoods in Lisbon, established in the 8th century during the Moorish era, and one of the few areas of Lisbon to emerge almost unscathed from the 1755 earthquake. It was really cool to see the locals just living their lives as we walked through the neighborhood. My favorite were these 2 ladies gossiping from across their windows. And across this art, you'll find an icon in Alfama selling gingina, I think that's how you say it, which is a traditional Portuguese liqueur served in a small shot glass that is made of chocolate. Our tour ended approximately around 6 p.m., which was about 4 hours after it started, in Praça do Comércio, a large harbor-facing plaza that serves as the entrance to the city. After a great afternoon with Jose, where we learned so much of the history of Portugal, we explored the harbor and headed to Time Out Market for some dinner. Here you'll find different food options ranging from croquetas, Mexican, burgers, Asian, and more. I was craving a burger, and man, it did not disappoint, while Ali got pad thai and said that it was also really delicious. And since there's always space for dessert, we got 3 different flavors of gelato. I got a Nocchiola, Nutella, Oreo, and Pastel de Nata, as well as a Nutella dessert to go, and we just headed back to the Airbnb to unwind for the evening. The next day, we woke up bright and early for another tour. Since there was no time for a sit-down breakfast, we stopped by Pasteleria Suiza in Rossio Square, and let me tell you, the pastries were so good, we went back in the afternoon because the Kinder Bueno croissant was insane. Anyways, about 8 a.m., we met up with our tour guide Savio and a tour group for Sintra, Pena, and Regaleira, which was meant to be about a 9.5-hour tour. There were different options as you could choose the ones that included or didn't include the tickets to the places we were visiting, so we ended up paying about $100 and some change per person, so it did include the tickets. First, we explored the town for a bit, got some pastel de nata of course, and a pastel de nata milkshake that was really good, and we started our walk to Quinta da Regaleira, a romantic palace and chapel that has a luxurious park with wells, fountains, and tunnels. As you can see, we first started by exploring the grounds, and we made it to this initiation well that was used for ceremonial purposes, and we were able to make our way down. We then made it to the underground tunnels that had 3 different pathways, and it was like a maze. One of them led to another ceremonial well that you will see in a second. Second one led to this grotto with a waterfall. And the third one led us to the exit. After exploring the grounds for a bit, we were left to roam free and visit the palace itself and learn about its history. My favorite part was going to the second floor, which you got a view of the grounds, and we lived our princess fantasy lives. We then had an about hour lunch break in Sintra before getting back on the bus and heading to our second destination, which is the Pena Palace. Before getting to the palace, we walked the grounds that included diverse species of trees from around the world, such as North American sequoias, Chinese ginkgo, and Australian and New Zealand tree ferns. We then went over to the palace. As you can see, it's very colorful and looks a little all over the place, but let me explain. So in the Middle Ages, there was a chapel on top of the hill, apparently built after an apparition of the Virgin Mary, but in the 18th century, it was severely damaged by lightning, and shortly afterwards, it was reduced to ruins due to the 1755 earthquake that I keep talking about. Well, King Ferdinand II decided to acquire the old monastery and the surrounding lands to build a palace for the Portuguese royal family, and worked with a German amateur architect to build this palace, and as you can see, it has like medieval and Islamic elements and a mix of neo-Gothic, neo-Manueline, neo-Islamic, and neo-Renaissance. I think most of the tour is pretty self-explanatory, so I'll just let you enjoy. After the Pena Palace, we were supposed to go to Cascais, a town by the coast, and drive by the beach, but the roads there were closed because of the Iron Man, so we made our way back to Lisbon and arrived around 6 p.m. Like I said, we went back to Pasteleria Suiza for more pastries, we took a nap at the Airbnb, and we went out for late dinner and a night out at Bairro Alto, which involved drinking and that music, so I'll spare you from that. But I will say that if you're wanting to go out in Lisbon, we had a lot of fun there, and things closed pretty late, around 3:30 to 4 a.m. Back to our family-friendly content. The next day, we booked a Pastel de Nata with Homecooking Lisbon in Belém, and we had so much fun learning about how to make these staple pastries. At the end, of course, we were giving a QR code to scan for the recipe and other native food recipes, and we were also able to eat our creations and take the leftovers home. It was honestly a really fun experience, and I definitely recommend including this to your itinerary. Afterwards, we were supposed to visit the Belém Tower, but since it was completely covered by scaffolding and it started to rain, we made our way back to what became our favorite food spot, Time Out Market yet again. Yes, I know. We unfortunately reached the point where we were craving anything but Portuguese food. I'm so sorry, Portugal. It's not you, it's me. And the next day was our last day of the trip. We decided to take a slow day and got breakfast at Kossie's Cafe. We then roamed around looking for markets. We bought some souvenirs, and then like magic, our exhaustion just wore off, and the last day feels hit us, so we decided to get espresso martinis to go. We put a pep in our step, so we walked over to the Castelo de São Jorge with the intention of going in, but we decided otherwise, and we just ended up walking around, heading to a rooftop bar at the Hotel Mundial for a drink and snacks before our sunset cruise on the Tagus River that also included snacks and drinks. We were finally able to see the Lisbon Golden Gate Bridge, or the April 25th Bridge, originally named Salazar Bridge, but after the Carnation Revolution that I mentioned previously, it was changed. And we also saw their version of the Cristo Redentor that can be found in Brazil, and the scaffolded Belém Tower. This was a very full circle moment because our trip started with a cloudy sunset cruise in the Seine River in France, and it's where Ali verbalized for the first time her love for me as an avoidant best friend. Okay.
Obrigada por todo you have given me. It's giving bridesmaid. But anyways.
Literally. Oh, I love I can see myself.
No,
it's obrigada.
Yes.
Ciao.
No, that's Italian.
They say ciao here anyways.
They say
¿Cómo
bye.
dicen adiós aquí?
Bye.
No.
But thank you, Mariola.
You guys heard it here first.
No,
Okay,
you did not